people are concerned about the NHS and the pressures that it's been under the last year. And really, I think what's been revealed in the last 12 months is how absolutely important our health and care workforce is. And so I think people will want to know, well, how are we going to build on that? And we've been saying that, we need to be investing in our social care workforce. So we need to be raising their level of pay up to the same level of the NHS, beginning with a £10 minimum wage for care workers. We need to be investing in the NHS. We've had terrible pressure on NHS workforce. So we need 1,000 extra doctors. We need 4,000 extra nurses and 1,000 other people in the greater health team. So I think people want to know about that. And the economy is the other side, of course, of the COVID crisis. And so crucially, we need an economic recovery plan. So we're going to be presenting a youth employment guarantee, particularly because unemployment is going to be a serious problem for the young. So it's a guaranteed job for every 16 to 24-year-old. We're going to be investing in our infrastructure. Infrastructure is key to our economic future, but it also creates jobs. So we're going to be presenting a multi-billion-pound programme of investment in digital. Still got problems with broadband in many parts of Wales, and we realise how important it is for all of us now, don't we? But also in public transport infrastructure, that helps us as well, of course, meet our vision in terms of reducing carbon emissions, because I think the environment, climate emergency was there as an issue before the pandemic, but I think we've even during lockdown, I think we've become even more aware of how important to our own individual well-being, having access to green spaces, having clean air is important to us as well as to the planet. So investing in public transport and in a green recovery creates jobs, but also helps us build that better Wales that I think we want to see.
I'm going to drill down a little bit more into that COVID recovery plan. I know there's been much debate, obviously, at the Senedd with regards to the way in which the current party is handling the situation. How would you do things differently?
Well, I think the key thing in the period coming after the election now is, as well as, of course, continuing to drive keep those case numbers down and avoid the possibility of a third wave, we've got to deal with the other looming problem, which is the massive waiting list in terms of other health problems and cancer and other diseases. So we need to invest very, very quickly in additional facilities to try and get those waiting numbers down. On the economic side, we've got thousands and thousands of businesses that are teetering on the brink. They're viable businesses, but they're just facing short-term problems because of fixed costs, which will drive them under. And if we lose those businesses, many of them have been built over decades and generations, actually, with family businesses. So we've got to actually provide them with immediate help. And we've looked at France. France has got a very successful zero interest rate long-term loans to enable businesses to survive. So that's the immediate priority, is saving those valuable businesses. They're going to be so important in terms of building the long-term economic future.
We've heard much spoken about climate change and hitting that target of net zero by 2050. I know you're a little bit more ambitious. You'd like to see that come a little bit closer. What policies would you put in place, including economic stimulus, to help achieve that? Yeah, no, absolutely. Finland is aiming for 2035, and we said, well, look, let's aim to be among the best. That part of our plan is the infrastructure investment that I've referred to, which over a 10-year period will allow us both to create jobs, create a better foundation for our economy, but also allow us to reach that net zero figure far earlier. And there's a double dividend there, if you want to think about it in this way, because if we manage to solve these environmental problems in reducing emissions faster than elsewhere, we not only have the environmental benefit, but also we become leaders in terms of the green industrial revolution, because we are solving the problems that the entire world is focusing on at the moment. And that puts us in a very, very strong position in terms of the green industrial revolution. Education's been hard hit during the COVID crisis. What would you put in place to ensure that nobody is left behind?
Absolutely critical. And what we're going to be emphasizing is the need to invest in schools in particular, undo some of the cuts in terms of per pupil funding that we saw over the last decade. And crucially, appoint an extra 2,000 teachers and an extra 2,000 additional staff into schools so that we can provide that's one-to-one and group, a small group teaching that evidence shows is absolutely critical in terms of educational attainment and allowing us, especially thinking about pupils in disadvantaged areas where evidence shows that there's a particular concern about the effects of the lost learning over the last 12 months. Let's get those extra teachers and support staff into schools as quickly as possible so we can undo any of the loss in learning over the last 12 months, but also build a fantastic platform to raise educational attainment right throughout Wales over the next 5 years.
1 in 4 people in Wales are living in poverty. Would you make tackling inequality a priority?
Absolutely, and that's really come to the fore, isn't it, over the last 12 months? And we've got the scandalous position where 1 in 3 of our children are living in poverty. So that's going to be a core focus for us right throughout this period of government. So what are we going to do? We're going to extend free school meals. We've got 70,000 of our children in Wales living in poverty, but not receiving free school meals at the moment. That's got to be changed immediately. We're going to extend free school meals to all of primary school children over the course of the 5 years, because we can't have children going to school hungry or going to bed hungry at night. Additionally, then, we're going to be introducing a Welsh child payment, building on the experience in Scotland, which by the end of the 5-year term will involve a £35 a week per child payment to families most in need. So we can lift thousands and thousands of those children out of poverty, have a clear target to reduce child poverty by 2030 and eventually to eliminate it, because we can't afford a situation where our children are living in poverty. They are the future of our nation, literally, and we all gain if we lift those children out of poverty.
As of last night, almost 100 people had signed a pledge for universal basic income to be piloted in Wales. Are you among its supporters?
Yes, we are a big supporter of universal basic income, and we will have a commitment in our manifesto to pilot UBI in Wales, and we want to have the devolution of welfare powers, which would enable us, and the related tax powers, which would enable us to roll that out to a full universal basic income in all parts of Wales.
You touched on the need for Wales to have better infrastructure. We know the electrification of the track between Cardiff and Swansea is being much mooted. Would you push for more investment for transport infrastructure and, as you mentioned earlier, broadband?
Yeah, absolutely. Key priority for us. The underinvestment in Welsh infrastructure has held us back over many years, so we've got to reverse that. And yes, electrification, big part of our transport decarbonisation plan, electrification of the railways. Wales has got 11% of the railway track in England. In Wales, we only get between 1 and 2% of the investment. That's got to change. We've got very exciting plans for opening new railway lines, including along the west coast of Wales, so we can actually get from the north to the south within our own country rather than going next door. But also similar plans in all parts of Wales, reopening railway lines, opening new stations, both heavy rail and light rail. And you're right, digital as well. We are going to set a clear target to get to gigabit broadband in all parts of Wales, universal by 2026. Why? Because that it's a priority in our own personal lives, as we've discovered, but it's absolutely essential in terms of the economy, and we'll do that in part by creating our own publicly owned broadband company.
You've spoken about a green jobs revolution. Will that be at the heart of your manifesto?
Absolutely. We're going to have a multi-billion-pound programme of investment, investing in renewable energy. Wales has rich potential, but we haven't been exploiting it enough. So we'll be creating a state-owned energy company, Ani Cymru, much as many other European countries do, and they actually have investments in Wales as it happens at the moment. So we need to be investing in our own potential. We need to be investing in energy efficiency, a programme of energy efficiency with 200,000 homes retrofitted over the course of the next five years. And of course, a very ambitious house building programme, new houses built to the best environmental standards, but also dealing with the housing crisis that